Hello and welcome back to the classes of Mastering Biology. Let's learn biology in an easy way. Now here I am to discuss today some small parts which are left in transportation in animals. Alright, we've discussed already about the parts of the blood circulatory system, which is the blood vessels and the heart. I explained you the structure and the working of the heart. Alright. Then I also talked about what is double circulation and what is single circulation and why are they required. Clear? Now we will discuss about the heart beat. What is the heartbeat? Heartbeat is the sound of heart which is produced because of contraction and relaxation. All right. So heartbeat is created by one contraction and one relaxation. This constitutes the heartbeat. One contraction and one relaxation constitutes the heartbeat. The contraction is termed as systole. This is the term that we use, and the relaxation is termed as diastole. So systole and diastole, these are the two terms that we use for contraction and relaxation respectively. Now when I say the heartbeat, it is created because of contraction and relaxation. And yes, the auricles and ventricles, we've seen that they contract and relax. They contract to push the blood to the next chamber or to any other part, and they relax to accommodate the blood in them. Right. Now this contraction and relaxation creates the heartbeat. The heart is going to contract, pushing the blood. And if you remember, I told you that ventricles have the thicker walls as compared to auricles. Why? Because they pump blood to longer distance comparatively. Therefore, this systole and diastole is constituted by a ventricular contraction. The contraction of the ventricles form a systole and the diastole, the sound which is created, the heartbeat which is created. Because ventricular contraction is definitely more forceful. Because the walls of these ventricles are thicker and they will push blood to a longer distance. So the ventricular contraction creates a heartbeat. If I talk about a normal adult, the number of heartbeats are 70 to 72 per minute. All right. And in case of children, it is about 90 to 110 per minute. Now, when I say 70 to 72 per minute, that is the normal heartbeat. But when you are running, you are doing some strenuous activity, at that time, remember, this number is going to increase depending on the activity you are doing. So, the number of heartbeat, the normal heartbeat in adults is 70 to 72 per minute. Along with this comes a word pulse that you must have heard of. What is a pulse? Pulse is the throbbing action of blood against the walls of the body. And this pulse can only be felt at a few places. For example, the wrist, the part under our ear somewhere here. And this pulse is actually the count of the number of heartbeats, because the number of times the blood is pushed or the number of times the heart contracts, pushing the blood, creating a heartbeat, and so is the pulse. So pulse is called as the throbbing action of the blood in the blood vessels against the walls of the vessels. All right. So this is all about the heartbeat. Now, what are the sounds which are created by the heart? the sounds created by the heart that we know as dhak dhak is actually not that. And there are two sounds which are created. One is the lub and the other is the dub. Lub is a low pitched मतलब इसकी आवाज बहुत नहीं आती, and is long duration sound. And this is caused because of the closure of the bicuspid and the tricuspid valve. So the cuspid valves, when closed, they create the first sound, which is lup. And this lup is low pitched and of long duration. Whereas the second sound is dub, which is high pitched. And this is of short duration. And why it is created? This is caused by the closure of the semi-lunar valves. So the semi-lunar valves, now where they are present? Yes. The semi-lunar valves are present at the entrance of the pulmonary trunk. They are present at the entrance of the aorta. That means in the right ventricle and the left ventricle, when these arteries are carrying blood, they have valves to prevent the backward flow, all right? And they are called as the semi-lunar valves. So the bicuspid and tricuspid valves close to create the first sound, which is lub, which is longer duration. And the second is the dub, which is a short duration sound caused by the closure of semi-lunar valves, all right? So these are the sounds of the heart, and sound of the heart is never dhak dhak. Let's move to the third next small topic, which is blood pressure. What is blood pressure? Blood pressure is the pressure applied by the blood on the walls of arteries or the blood vessels. All right. So blood pressure is that pressure which is applied by the blood on the walls of the arteries. Now, just as I told you that the heart contracts and relaxes, that is, it performs systole and diastole. Similarly, there are two blood pressures. Yes, two doesn't mean two different. Two constitute one blood pressure. That means there are two parts to this, which is one is the systolic pressure this systolic pressure, and the second one is the diastolic pressure. Now, when I say systole word I use for contraction. That means the maximum pressure which was created because of contraction of the ventricles. All right. So the pressure developed by maximum ventricular contraction is the systolic pressure. The value of the systolic pressure, the normal value is 120 mm of Hg. Hg is mercury. Now this value is not in the body. This mercury is not present in the body. This is the pressure which is applied by the contraction of the ventricles, and this is noted by an instrument which is known as the sphygmomanometer. Alright, so sphygmomanometer, the traditional one, has this level of mercury which keeps on rising up and down, and there the scale says 120 mm of Hg. Alright, the diastolic pressure, when I say, it is the pressure applied by maximum ventricular relaxation. The value of maximum relaxation, definitely relax or I heart, the value will be lesser than 120, and so it is 80 mm of Hg. And what is the normal blood pressure? The normal blood pressure is 120 by 80 mm of Hg. This is the way we write. You cannot write 80 upon 120. That is a wrong answer. Alright. So whenever the normal blood pressure is asked, it is 120 by 80 mm of Hg. Any values which are lesser than or greater than, that means a blood pressure of a patient is more than this 120 by 80 mm of Hg. That means if it is maintained constantly, it is a condition of hypertension. And in this case, the blood pressure is increased, which can cause irreversible damage to the blood capillaries, the blood vessels, and they may even burst because of the pressure, depending on the value. All right. Then, if the pressure is lower than this, we say it is low blood pressure. There are different symptoms of the hypertension, that is high BP and low BP. There are different symptoms. All right. So we won't go into that detail, but you should know what is systolic pressure, what is diastolic pressure, and the systolic and diastolic pressure together constitutes the blood pressure of a normal adult, which is 120 by 80 mm of Hg. Any value more than this leads to hypertension, and any value lesser than this leads to the low blood pressure. So this is all about the circulatory system, the blood circulatory system. The next type of circulatory system which is present in the human body is the lymphatic system. When I say lymphatic system, the lymphatic system comprises of lymph capillaries, lymph vessels, lymph organs like spleen. All right. Now, what is lymph and what are the other things? Lymph, when I say, lymph is a colorless fluid which has plasma or the blood plasma. All right. This has the blood plasma, and it has the WBCs, but it is devoid of RBC and platelets. So it is devoid of RBC and platelets. This is what is lymph, a colorless fluid which has the blood plasma and WBC. How it is created? Now see. This is the blood which is flowing in the blood vessel. All right. Part of this blood and the WBC has the capacity to ooze out from the walls of the blood capillary. Now this is the blood capillary. So this plasma along with WBC, plasma from blood and WBC, some of it oozes out into this space which is present in between the blood vessel and the body tissue. All right. This part is known as, extracellular fluid. This is known as extracellular fluid. All right. The fluid which is present outside the cells in the space. So this is the blood capillary, which is a part of type of blood vessel, you know. The plasma and the WBC ooze out from the walls in this space which is called as the extracellular space, and this now constitutes the extracellular fluid. This extracellular fluid then joins and starts to flow in lymph capillaries which join to form the large lymph vessels. All right. So this is how lymph is produced, how lymph is created. The blood capillaries have blood in them. They reach the tissues, body tissues. All right. In between, they have this space which is called as the extracellular space. A part of the blood oozes out from the walls of capillary in the space, and this becomes the extracellular fluid. So the extracellular fluid, when enter into the lymph capillary, it forms the lymph, and then it enters the blood, lymph vessels. All right. Now, what are the functions of lymph if I summarize? Lymph, as you know, has WBC. And what is the role of WBC? What is the function of WBC? The WBC helps to fight infections. The WBC helps to fight infections. All right. Second thing, it keeps the body tissue moist. It keeps the body tissue moist. It acts as a middleman between the blood capillaries and the body tissues. All right. And the fourth point you can keep in mind, helps to transport the dissolved or the digested fats. All right, because it is the lymph which carries the fats. You should also know one more thing, because it could be asked as a difference between lymph and blood. So you can write it is a colorless fluid, blood is a red colored fluid. It has only blood plasma and WBC, whereas blood has everything. Then the very important point here, blood flows in two directions, that is towards the heart and away from the heart, but the flow of lymph is unidirectional. It flows in only one direction, and that is towards the heart. It never flows away from the heart. So the flow of lymph is unidirectional. So I've given you 3 points of differences along with what is lymph and what the other functions of the lymph and the lymphatic system as a whole for your level of grade 10. This is more than sufficient. As much as you can understand, as much as you can retain, you try and understand this point. It's very, very easy. All right. So this is where we complete transportation, our third life process. We shall soon begin with the fourth life process and the last life process, which is excretion. It is equally important, but yes, it is lesser. The content is lesser, or it is less lengthier than the transportation, because it was quite in detail topic. All right. So till then, keep revising and do ask your doubts in the comment box. Wish you all the best. Thank you.